Now, like I said, today we are going to be talking about our fundamentals of geometry. So let's go ahead and take a look at our vocabulary for the day. Okay, our vocabulary for lesson 8-1. Our first one is going to be a point, which a point is an exact location in space. A line is a straight path that extends without end in opposite directions. A plane is a flat surface that extends forever. A ray is a part of a line that starts at one endpoint and extends forever. A line segment is a part of a line between two endpoints. And finally, congruent is going to be having the same size and shape. Okay, we're also real quickly going to talk about 8-11 vocabulary, introduce you to it. Most of these you guys are familiar with because it's talking about symmetry. The first one is line of symmetry. Is a figure has a line of symmetry if half is a mirror image of the other half. A line of symmetry is the imaginary mirror in line symmetry. Asymmetry is not identical on either side of a central line, meaning not symmetrical. Rotational symmetry is a figure has rotational symmetry if it can be rotated less than 360 degrees around a central point and coincide with the original figure. And lastly, the center of rotation is the point which a figure is rotated. All right, again, we're gonna revisit our 8-11 later. Just want to expose you guys to those vocabulary words. Now, let's take a look at our notes for today. Okay, if you notice, we have 3 examples here and 3 shapes. Let's first take a look at number 1. Number 1 says name. Letter A says 3 points, 2 lines, and a plane. So let's talk about how we are going to do all that. Now, the first thing that we need to do is we need to name 3 points. Well, to name 3 points, that's fairly simple. All we have to do is find 3 points on my shape over here and name those. For example, we could use point E, point D, and point F. And there is no special way to label those simply because they're points. And that's all you have to put for those guys. Okay, now let's take a look at the lines. It says name 2 lines. Now, in order for us to name a line, we have to have 2 points. If you just have 1 point, you can't make a line from just 1 point because we don't know what direction it's going to go or anything like that. So we have to have at least 2 points. So one line could be DE, and the other line could be DF. Both of those would be acceptable. So we could have DE. Now, whenever we are labeling lines, remember we have to put the line symbol above the 2 points, and we have to have arrows on both ends. That is what designates it as a line. If we don't put those arrows on both ends, it would just be a segment, and that's not what that question is asking us for. Okay, and the last one we have here is a plane. Now, in order for us to label a plane, you actually need to write the word plane. Okay, followed by any 3 points that are located on the plane, which in this case we only actually have 3 points. So we could call this plane EDF, and that would be an acceptable answer. Okay, questions on how I got any of those? No? All right, then let's take a look at number 2. Number 2 says identify congruent line segments. Now, on our shape here, if you notice, we have little lines on each of these other lines. Now what that shows is that indicates which ones are congruent to one another. So the first thing I'm going to look at is I'm going to find all the ones with one tick mark. That's what those little lines are called. One tick. Okay, so what two sides have only one tick mark? Well, this top side up here and this bottom side out here both only have one. So we could say that these two are congruent. So we could say line segment AB. Now remember, whenever you're drawing a line segment, we have to label that with just a bar above the A and the B. That indicates that it's a line segment. Is congruent to CD. Okay, and then I would say the two tick marks. Okay, well that one's going to be this guy right here and this guy right here, which this is going to be AC and BD. So we could say AC and BD are congruent. And finally, we're going to have three tick marks, which there's actually more of these, because if you look over here, look, this guy right here has three, this one has three, this one has three, and this one has three. So we could start with like BF there, and then FD, and then we can go over here to AE and EC. Okay, and all those are congruent based on the little lines that are on the line segments. Okay? All right, and finally, let's take a look at the last examples. This one says name 3 rays and 2 segments. Well, let's take a look at our rays first. Remember, a ray has an endpoint and then goes on forever in one direction. Okay, so one ray would be right here. Okay, ray MO, and to designate that, we're going to start with a line, and then we have to put an arrow telling us what direction it's going in, just like that. Now, we could also have, we could use ray MN, okay, because we started on the M and we went through the N forever in that direction, so we could say MN. And lastly, we could also say ray NM and put our arrow going back the other direction. Okay? Both of those would work. Does not matter if the line is slanted up or down or whatever, the label is still going to be the same. All right, and finally, let's name 2 segments, which remember a segment is just one that has 2 endpoints. So like MO could also be a segment because depending on how we label it, which in that case we're just going to label it like that because that indicates a segment. Okay, and our next one might be like MN. Now, as you can see, the importance of those labels, because look, MO and MN could both be line segments. If we don't put the correct label on there, I'm not going to know what you're telling me. Okay? Now, that's pretty much it. This is, I mean, you guys have done all of this before. This is hopefully just a review for you, and you should do fine. Okay? Any questions on that? No? All right, then let's get to work.